Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive into the world's most fascinating and sometimes, let's be honest, a little bit spooky books.
That's right. We're delving into those texts that have, for centuries, sent shivers down spines and sparked heated debates. Books rumored to hold secrets, knowledge, power, maybe even a touch of danger.
And today we're tackling a subject that seems to perfectly encapsulate that blend of fascination and apprehension, occult books.
We're going to be using a really intriguing work as our guide today, A.E. Thierens' General Book of the Tarot.
Now, I know the title might sound a bit niche, but trust me, Thierens offers some incredible insights into why certain books, particularly those steeped in symbolism and esoteric wisdom, have historically evoked such strong reactions. We're talking about everything from reverence and a thirst for knowledge to, well, outright fear.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that Thierens doesn't shy away from those potentially unsettling aspects. In fact, he seems to lean into them, exploring how the very structure and language of these texts, especially those like the tarot that rely heavily on symbolism, can contribute to those feelings of unease.
So, our mission today is to unpack Thierens' ideas, particularly his exploration of tarot symbolism and its connections to astrology, to really understand what makes these books tick.
Yeah.
Why have they been viewed with such a mix of awe and apprehension? What is it about their content, their language, their very essence that has historically led some to believe they hold secrets too powerful, too dangerous to be readily accessed?
It's a journey into the heart of symbolism, interpretation, and the human psyche's response to the unknown.
And a journey into the history of these books themselves, because context is everything, right? Thierens, for example, makes a pretty bold claim about the tarot that I think sets the stage for our entire discussion.
Oh, absolutely. He suggests that the Book of Thoth, which many consider a cornerstone of occult wisdom, was actually the tarot itself, existing long before it was ever written down. We're talking pre-Moses, pre-Abraham ancient.
That's a huge statement. It immediately positions the tarot as something incredibly old, potentially predating some of the most influential religious and philosophical texts we know.
And if we accept that premise, even for a moment, it casts a different light on the tarot and other texts claiming similar ancient origins. Suddenly, we're not just dealing with a deck of cards or a collection of symbols, we're engaging with the potential lineage of knowledge stretching back millennia.
It's almost like we're talking about a hidden current of wisdom that has flowed beneath the surface of mainstream thought for centuries, occasionally bubbling up in different forms and interpretations.
And that's precisely where things get interesting, because with that kind of antiquity comes a certain mystique, a sense that these books hold secrets lost to time, potentially too powerful or dangerous to be easily grasped.
And it's not just the age, right? We have to consider the historical development of occultism itself, how figures like Eliphas Levi and Papus in the 19th century really helped to reignite a widespread fascination with esoteric thought and the interpretation of texts like the tarot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those figures were instrumental in shaping how we understand and approach these subjects today. Thierens himself is building on that foundation, engaging with the tradition that has been both revered and feared for its exploration of hidden knowledge and the potential power it might unlock.
It's like a chain reaction of interpretations and reinterpretations, each generation adding its own layer of understanding and perhaps a bit of trepidation as well. Because when you have multiple perspectives on something that claims to hold profound secrets, the possibility of misinterpreting it, of getting it wrong, becomes a real concern.
And that concern can easily morph into fear, especially when these books are seen as keys to unlocking profound truths about the universe, ourselves, and our place in the grand scheme of things.
So we have this incredibly old body of knowledge, potentially predating some of our most foundational texts, subject to various interpretations, shrouded in a bit of mystery, and carrying the weight of potential misuse. Where do we even begin to untangle that?
Well, Thierens offers an interesting starting point by focusing on the language itself, the way these books communicate their ideas. And he quotes Arthur Edward Waite, a pivotal figure in tarot history, saying, "The tarot is symbolism. It speaks no other language and offers no other signs."
That's a pretty fundamental observation. It's like saying the key to understanding these books lies in deciphering the symbolism, the hidden meanings embedded within their structure and imagery.
Exactly. And symbolism, by its very nature, demands interpretation. It's not a straightforward literal communication. It requires the reader to actively engage in a process of decoding, of finding the hidden meanings behind the images, the numbers, the archetypes.
And that process is inherently subjective, right? Two people might look at the same symbol and come away with completely different interpretations.
Absolutely. And that's where the potential for both power and danger arises. If a book relies solely on symbolism, the reader is essentially tasked with constructing meaning, and the possibility of a flawed or incorrect interpretation is always present.
That makes me think of those optical illusions where you can see two different images depending on how you focus your eyes. The information is all there, but the way you perceive it shapes your understanding of what you're seeing.
It's a perfect analogy. And Thierens takes it a step further, suggesting that true symbolism, the kind employed in these occult texts, isn't just about conveying arbitrary meanings. He believes it's about rendering cosmological truth, unveiling natural principles that govern the universe.
So if these books are using symbolism in this way, they're not just talking about everyday occurrences or personal experiences, they're claiming to reveal fundamental truths about the very fabric of reality.
Exactly. And if you buy into that premise, then the stakes become much higher. If these symbols are believed to be keys to understanding the very forces that shape our existence, then the books containing them are claiming a profound and potentially transformative power.
It's like they're offering a glimpse behind the curtain, a peek into the inner workings of the cosmos. And that kind of power, even the perceived access to it, can be both exhilarating and intimidating.
Absolutely. It suggests that engaging with these texts could fundamentally alter your understanding of the world, which could be a very unsettling prospect for some people.
Okay, so we've established that these books are often dealing with potentially transformative knowledge, expressed through a language of symbolism that demands interpretation and carries the weight of possible misinterpretation. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the practical side of things, specifically how this knowledge might be applied in the real world.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Well, Thierens makes an interesting observation about the lesser arcana in the tarot, the cards that deal with more everyday matters. He points out that fortune tellers, the bon avanceur as he calls them, often focused on the specific details and meanings of these cards.
So we're moving from abstract philosophical concepts to tangible, real-world applications. This is where the idea of potential danger becomes perhaps more concrete. If these books aren't just theoretical treatises but can be used for divination, for seemingly predicting the future or revealing hidden aspects of the present, then they're perceived as having a direct influence on people's lives.
And any perceived ability to meddle with fate or peer into the unknown has historically been met with a mix of fascination and fear.
Right, it's that classic tension between the allure of forbidden knowledge and the potential consequences of unlocking secrets that perhaps should remain hidden.
And it's not just about divination itself. Thierens also delves into the concept of right and reversed interpretations within the tarot. He sees these as potentially representing the stronger and weaker or even pathological sides of a card's meaning.
So it's not just about whether a card's meaning is generally positive or negative, but also about how it might manifest in its more extreme or unbalanced forms. That duality, the explicit inclusion of potential negative interpretations, certainly adds fuel to the fire when it comes to the perception of these books as potentially dangerous.
Especially because Thierens doesn't shy away from providing some rather vivid examples of these negative interpretations. For instance, he associates the Two of Wands with melancholy, sadness, terror, fear, and trouble. That's quite a spectrum of difficult emotions tied to a single card.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop there. The Five of Wands brings up trickery, contradiction, discussion, and chicane, suggesting conflict, deception, and a lack of straightforwardness.
And then we have the Ten of Wands, which he links to treachery, duplicity, perfidy, falsehood, disguise, imposture, conspiracy, obstacle, surprise, dissimulation, contrarieties, difficulties, false seeming, oppression, and loss in lawsuit. That's not just a bad day, that's a whole string of potentially disastrous events.
It's a pretty intense list, and it really highlights how these cards, even those not traditionally associated with overtly negative meanings, can carry the potential for significant misfortune when interpreted through this lens.
And it continues with the Four of Pentacles reversed, which Thierens says represents obstacles, delay, suspense, a sense of being stuck and facing hindrances. The Five of Pentacles reversed paints an even bleaker picture. Bad conduct, ruin, confusion, disorder, discord, dissipation, chaos, profligacy, and a material trouble. It's a complete breakdown of stability and order.
It's almost as if these reversed interpretations are amplifying the potential for negative outcomes, showing the shadow side of each card's energy.
Exactly. And remember, this is all within the context of divination, the idea that these cards can offer insights into potential future events or hidden aspects of the present. So it's not just theoretical knowledge, it's about applying these interpretations to real-life situations, which naturally heightens the sense of potential danger.
And that sense of danger is only reinforced as we move through the remaining cards. The Eight of Swords, for instance, signifies critical position, censure, crisis, chagrin, condemnation, judgment, sickness, and calumny. And even the reversed meaning doesn't offer much comfort: difficulty, obstacle, accident, treachery, and fatality.
It's a lot to process, and it's easy to see why someone might approach a book that outlines such possibilities with a certain degree of caution, even fear.
It's like opening a Pandora's box of potential misfortune. And it continues with the Nine of Swords, bringing up death, failure, miscarriage, delay, deception, disappointment, and despair. The Ten of Swords piles on even more negativity: tears, affliction, plaints, complaints, sadness, desolation, and sorrow.
Even some of the reversed meanings carry that heavy weight. Take the Two of Swords reversed, for instance. Falsity, imposture, lie, duplicity, bad faith, deception, superficiality, sensuality, laziness, dullness, cruelty, relentless opposition, passive obstruction, and unforgiving hatred.
It's like a catalog of undesirable traits and outcomes, all tied to a single reversed card.
And we're not done yet. The Three of Swords. Departure, absence, rupture, delay, division, removal, being far away, aversion, hatred, disgust, contrarieties, opposition, unsociable qualities, gruffness, separation, mental worries, troubles, alienation, error, mistake, and loss.
It's clear that even seemingly less dramatic cards like the Four of Cups, with its associations of annoyance, aversion, disgust, affliction, discontent, and satiety, or the Eight of Cups, suggesting little chance of wishes and ambitions being realized, can carry significant negative weight in their interpretations.
And to round it all out, we have the reversed Knight of Cups, which Thierens links to trickery, fraud, duplicity, subtlety, swindle, artifice, false interpretation, misjudgment, tendentious or fantastic narratives, exaggerated complaints, imaginary wrongs, miscarriage, indiscretion, slanderous reports, and blackmail. It's a veritable rogues gallery of negativity packed into a single card.
So it's not just about Thierens-specific interpretations, but about the very act of divination and the significant potential for negative outcomes within that system. It's about the idea that these cards, and by extension the books that explain them, hold a power that needs to be handled with care, perhaps even avoided by those who fear encountering such negativity.
And that brings us to the Greater Arcana, those cards that often represent more profound archetypal energies. Thierens notes that their significance is often veiled, presented through allegorical images that require even deeper levels of interpretation.
And that inherent obscurity, that sense of hidden meanings waiting to be unlocked, only adds to the mystique and potential apprehension surrounding these books.
It's like they're holding secrets that are meant to be discovered gradually, layer by layer, rather than revealed all at once.
And that process of discovery can be both alluring and daunting. It raises the question of whether everyone is equipped to handle such knowledge, whether some secrets might be better left undisturbed.
And there are certainly specific cards within the Greater Arcana that carry traditionally frightening names or interpretations. Take 13th, Death, for example.
Ah, yes. The card that seems to evoke the most visceral fear in many people, even those familiar with the tarot.
And understandably so. While Thierens interprets it through the lens of Saturn and transmutation, a process of profound change and renewal, the immediate association with finality, with the end of life, is undeniable.
It's a primal fear, deeply ingrained in the human psyche. And even if the underlying meaning is about transformation, the initial impact of that imagery can be quite jarring.
Similarly, XV, the devil, which Thierens associates with Mars, still carries centuries of negative religious and cultural baggage. The symbolism linked to the devil is almost universally tied to temptation, darkness, and malevolent forces.
It's a card that has been demonized, so to speak, throughout history, and those associations are hard to shake off, even when approaching it from a more esoteric perspective.
And then we have X16, the Tower, which Thierens connects to Uranus and the idea of ruin when evil prevails.
It's a card that often represents sudden, unexpected upheaval, the collapse of established structures, a disruption of the status quo.
The imagery itself is quite striking, often depicting a tower being struck by lightning, crumbling under the force of the impact. It speaks to the idea that even the most seemingly solid foundations can be shattered, sometimes in an instant.
It's a potent symbol of the impermanence of things, the ever-present potential for chaos to erupt and disrupt our carefully constructed realities.
And finally, we have eighth, the moon, which Thierens describes as representing the life of the imagination separate from the spirit, a realm of uncertainty, and even the potential for negative influences that might aid in the soul's destruction.
It's a card that delves into the subconscious, the world of dreams, illusions, and hidden fears.
Thierens' interpretation emphasizes the darker aspects of this realm, the potential for delusion, deception, and the influence of forces that might lead us astray.
It's about confronting the unknown within ourselves, the shadowy aspects of our own psyches. And that can be a truly unsettling prospect.
And finally, let's consider the Fool, which Thierens interprets as representing the principle of Earth itself, carried away in space. It's a card that often embodies the idea of beginnings, new adventures, and a leap of faith into the unknown.
But Thera's interpretation also highlights the element of the uncontrollable, the aspects of our experience that we cannot predict or influence.
It's about acknowledging the inherent uncertainties of life, the fact that we are not always in control, that sometimes we must simply surrender to the flow of events.
And that lack of control, that surrender to the unknown, can be a source of both excitement and trepidation.
So through this exploration of Thierens' work, we've really uncovered some of the key reasons why certain books, especially those dealing with occult knowledge and symbolism, have historically been viewed with such a mix of awe, curiosity, and apprehension.
It's a complex interplay of ancient traditions, the potential for misinterpretation, the perceived ability to influence fate, the presence of both positive and negative interpretations, and the inherent human response to the unknown.
It's about the power these books are perceived to hold, the secrets they might unlock, and the potential consequences, both positive and negative, that might arise from engaging with them.
And ultimately, I think it boils down to a fundamental question. Are we ready to confront the unknown, both within ourselves and in the world around us, even if it means facing our deepest fears and potentially reshaping our understanding of reality? That's the challenge and perhaps the danger that these books seem to present.
That's a great point to end on. It's not just about deciphering symbols or understanding historical contexts. It's about what we do with that knowledge, how we integrate it into our lives, and whether we're willing to face the potential consequences of unlocking those secrets.
So, for those of you listening, the next time you come across a book that sparks a sense of mystery, or perhaps a twinge of fear, remember, it's not just about the words on the page, it's about the journey those words might take you on, both within yourself and in the world around you.
And remember, that journey can be both exhilarating and unsettling. So tread carefully, be open to new perspectives, and most importantly, never stop questioning.
Until next time, happy reading and sweet dreams.
We'll see you in the archives.